Okay, hello everyone. So today I'll be talking about the supply chain problems that we have now and how it impacts the economy, or supply chain problems and impacts on the economy. So let's begin. People believe that these supply chain problems are not a big deal or anything, but I can prove that they are wrong. It does impact this economy, the U.S. economy, in a big way, because a lot of the stuff that we use to make a living is imported from other countries. So let me elaborate. Well, the supply chain problems that we have at the ports, like the ports being backed up, like the Los Angeles port, the port in Long Beach, California, and stuff like that. They're being backed up, and there's, like, I heard 100 ships that are anchored near Los Angeles port, and right now that's causing problems like empty store shelves, right? Well, they're not entirely empty, but they're more empty than they were before. That's what I'm saying. So causes problems in the availability of products and shortages, and this will of course lead to higher prices, right? So we're seeing this across the board of I guess some stuff is running out. They can't find replacements for it, or the price of it is just going up as much as, I heard, 30% for some items. So that's another thing. So the U.S. economy does rely on retail sales, right? It doesn't have to be just brick and mortar retail sales. Nowadays, it's a lot of sales are done on the internet through websites like Amazon, eBay, there's Spotify, and there's many others, and Best Buys and stuff. They also sell stuff online and stuff like that. So if you want to buy an appliance like a refrigerator, it is much more expensive today than it was, let's say, 2 years ago. So let me show you. Here, let me go to Best Buy. Let's look at some prices for appliances. Major appliances. Let's look at refrigerators. Lowest to highest, I'll set it to. Well, lowest to highest, not highest. The cheapest thing here is $1,899.99. And about 2 years ago, I bought a refrigerator because the one that I had broke down. So I think it was a Whirlpool or something. So it says unavailable nearby, and I paid $1,500 for it, and it's much bigger than this one. I think it was about 27 cubic feet. I paid about $1,500 for it. Today, the same one with the same, with the one with the same capacity is $2,700. And the cheap stuff is really not even available. Of course, as it gets more expensive, they will be more available, right? This $9,000, how many? Not many people can buy it, so this is available. So prices definitely have gone up for stuff, and some stuff is not even available. So there for that. So next thing is leads to problems in domestic manufacturing. Well, in today, in the modern day, 21st century, even in the 20th century, I would guess. So parts and materials are needed to finish goods. We need parts like microprocessors to finish cars, right? Because cars depend on microprocessors and sensors and stuff like that. Modern cars, that is. And certain types of alloys are needed in order to finish the manufacturing process, right? We need components for cars, car parts, right, to finish cars. And all of the car parts are not produced in the United States. A lot of it is imported. So the car is, when they say the car is made in the United States, it's just merely assembled here, basically. Really not, all the parts aren't made here. They just imported from other places. You know, they can import parts from Asia, they can import parts from Europe and wherever, and then they just put it together here and they say that's made in America. So we need parts to finish goods, right? We need composite materials, like for the car body and stuff like that, for example, which is made out of some carbon fiber stuff. We need circuit boards. Circuit boards are definitely used in automobiles, right? They're also used in other stuff too, right? Not just automobiles, just about everything. You have manufacturing plants here in the United States. A lot of them are highly automated. And these automated plants require stuff like single board computers, like industrial grade single board computers, circuit boards, and computers and stuff like that. I guess they would be industrial grade too. And of course, we may import circuit boards here and make stuff here as well. So then we need components like transistors, capacitors, resistors, and other things to finish these electronic devices. Let's say an electronic device manufacturer makes stuff here. They may need to import components like transistors, capacitors, and resistors, because a lot of that stuff is not made here. So they may say that it's made in America, but most of the components, circuit boards and everything are from abroad. So we also have to import chemical compounds to finish goods, right? And we need to import elements like cadmium, mercury, palladium, platinum, neodymium, that's a rare earth metal, cesium, and other stuff need to be imported to manufacture stuff here, right? Because one country cannot have all the resources to produce complicated machinery these days. So it does lead to problems in domestic manufacturing and stuff like that. So let's say you build computers for a living, right? So then you need to import stuff like cases. Cases are not made in the United States. The motherboard's not made in the United States. You need to import that. The RAM module, the RAM DIMM modules are not made in the United States, so you need to import that. The power supplies, definitely not made in the United States. These are components that you need to import to, and the CPU, you need to import that too. And other stuff, the graphics card, which there's a shortage of right now. And all the components that make that machine work. You need to order these parts and assemble it here and sell it. So if you can't get the components, then you can't finish the product. And if you can't finish the product, then you can't make any money. So that's as simple as that. So same with the car manufacturers. They can't get the CPUs. Not only can they not just get the RISC-based microprocessors to make their cars work, they need other stuff imported to make their cars work, right? To assemble, to finish the product, right? They need to assemble other parts. They need to get other parts from other countries as well. So machines are very complicated. So you definitely need to import stuff to finish these goods. So it leads to other problems like the supply chain problem. Leads to other problems like problems with food production and distribution, right? So in modern agriculture, many things are needed, like tractors, combines, swarthers, plows. We need stuff like a chemical-based aluminum nitrate based fertilizers and many other stuff, And modern farm machinery also uses, they use circuit boards and microprocessors and stuff like that. So modern agriculture is very highly automated. People may not know that. There really isn't a lot of farmers in the United States. So they kind of like offset this by like highly automating their farms to make it more profitable, just like how the manufacturing industry made their manufacturing plants and factories more automated, right? So they can make it more profitable, because everything wasn't outsourced to like other countries, through the years. A lot of it was just simply automated because of the availability of printed circuit boards, which became cheap in the 1970s, starting from the mid 1970s, and microprocessors with many transistors in it, which also became very affordable. So industry started to use this stuff to like streamline the process and use less people. And this also happened in the farming industry as well, and the manufacturing. So all these things are needed in order to produce food, right? And we also need like trucks and stuff to haul the food to processing plants and stuff like that. And farmers need the parts and the stuff to grow their food, right? And if their tractor breaks down, and if it doesn't work, or a combine breaks down, or whatever, anything breaks down here, any of their durable farm equipment breaks down, then they can't grow the food, and that's the problem. That's why countries like Venezuela, which went through economic sanctions, had all these problems with hyperinflation, right? The people in that country couldn't import parts for their tractors and other machinery to keep it working. So even their oil rigs required parts, right, which they could not make, which they had to import to get it running, right? So if they couldn't get the parts for that, then all of that would just break down, right? The tractors wouldn't work, the combines wouldn't work, the other farm machinery wouldn't work, and that would cause shortages in the supply chain, right? So they can't grow enough food, which causes shortages in food, right? And if there's a shortage of any types of items in the economy, that causes inflation. And if there's a lot more shortages, that would cause hyperinflation, right? So all of these things are needed, so to keep people fed and everything, right? So if the trucks break down and they can't get the parts to fix it, or if it takes a longer time to fix the trucks, then the problem is, if the trucks don't run, then they can't send the food that the farmers produce, the raw materials that they produce, to the processing plants and the distributors, so the food could end up in your supermarket where you consume it, right? Some of the food needs to go to processing plants, like let's say the livestock and stuff like that. They need to go to a processing plant to get processed, right, into meat. And other stuff, I guess some types of processed foods, of course, they need to go to a processing plant to get processed, and then they go through the distributor, and then they go to the wholesaler, and then it gets to you, the consumer, at the supermarket or whatever. So if this part of the supply chain is disrupted, or the transportation part is disrupted, then you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems with food, getting food to your table. So the next thing is, it doesn't just affect these sections right here. It also affects other industries. So, for example, a car mechanic in a body shop, right? They need parts to get vehicles fixed, right? So let's say you get into a car accident and you ram your car, or somebody rams their car into you, and car is damaged. Well, you take it to a body shop, right? And let's say some of the engine was damaged too, then you have to take it to a car mechanic as well. So the thing is damaged, right? So you take it to a body shop first. They get the parts. They order the parts for the body. Let's say the front panel was damaged, the front bumper part. So they order that. They repaint it, and they kind of like straighten out some of the frame if the frame was damaged, and then they insert that and repaint it and put it back into your car, right? And now your car's body is repaired. And then if the components of the engine was damaged, and let's say the coolant part was damaged, they take it to a mechanic shop and get that repaired, right? The mechanic orders the part, they install it, and your car's fixed. So vehicles need to be fixed, and if they can't get the parts, then in time, then it would take longer. So let's say the normal process took about, let's say, a week to get this fixed, then you may have to wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, who knows how long, right? Appliances need to be repaired as well, right? Let's say your washing machine dies or something, then you need to order, then the appliance repair person would have to order the parts to get that repaired, right? And depending on how fast they can get the part, will lead to how long it takes for your machine to get repaired. So if they can get the parts quickly, then they'll get it fixed. They'll get it up and running sooner. If it takes longer, then you just have to wait longer. You just have to wait for the parts, because repair people, maintenance people, they don't make parts. They cannot repair parts. So they just have to order the parts and install it into the machine. The same with, let's say you have a computer problem, your computer breaks, something breaks in it, and they have to order the part to get your thing repaired. Or if you have an electronics repair person, they may have to order stuff like new capacitors and stuff like that to get your, let's say your air conditioner had a blown capacitor, then they would have to order capacitors, or if they have some on them with the right ratings, then it would work. But if they can't get the parts, then they can't get it repaired. So that's basically it. So oil rigs need parts to get to pump oil out of the ground, right? So if they can't get the parts for that, then you're going to have problems, right? They can't pump the oil out of the ground, and this is going to cause the price of oil to spike. And that's what happened in Venezuela, right? Like they couldn't, when they had an embargo, they couldn't import the parts for their oil rigs. So if they couldn't get the parts, then of course the parts wear out with time, and then you have to get it replaced and maintained, and that doesn't happen, then the whole thing breaks down, and they can't pump oil out of the ground, and now you have oil shortages and stuff like that. And data centers need computers and network equipment and cables and other stuff, and I think all of this stuff is imported from Asia. I think most of it, or all of it, is imported. So if there's a problem with getting these components, then you're going to have problems with your internet service provider and stuff like that. So people take all this for granted and say, you know, they were saying some really stupid things in in the media, saying that, well, if we have a trade war with China, then China is gonna be the one who's gonna be squirming. I don't think so. I mean, the United States does have the world reserve currency, and everyone needs U.S. dollars to buy stuff, right, from abroad to keep their economies functioning. However, if they don't get the stuff that they need, then the whole thing will start to just break down and decay, you know. And you have plumbers and stuff, they order stuff too, like roofers and stuff. Plumbers order pipes, and a lot of stuff, a lot of that stuff is like from abroad as well as imported here. You have all kinds of problems. And as for data centers, the stuff that they have in there is durable stuff, but it doesn't last forever. It's like you're talking about a data center that's running 24/7. So computers and servers and stuff like that do get worn out, and you don't just use any kind of computer in a data center. You use enterprise grade computers. You know, these aren't like just like regular computers. These are designed to run 24/7, and they're quite expensive. They're not like your regular computers, and they use special type of memory like ECC RAM, so that data is doesn't get corrupted more easily and stuff like that, and all kinds of stuff they have to get like hard drives replaced and stuff, and everything else. All this stuff has to be replaced in order for all this stuff to run right. So we have like restaurants and stuff, and restaurants have blenders and other cooking equipment, which is also imported from other countries. Refrigerators also, right? Just like I mentioned earlier about appliance repair people and many other things that are needed in restaurants, right, to keep that running. So if the refrigerator breaks down, let's say, in a restaurant, and then they will call the appliance repair person to repair it, and if they don't have the parts for it, like the compressor or the control module or whatever, because modern refrigerators use a lot of electronic stuff like control modules, and they could break down. Compressors could break down. Other components like the capacitors and stuff in the refrigerator could break down. And if they can't get these parts, then they can't get it repaired. And if you don't have a refrigerator in a restaurant, then obviously that restaurant's just not going to be running, because you need all this stuff to get it running. And if they can't order another blender in time, if they can't get it, then I guess it's going to affect how the restaurant is going to run, right, in a very bad way. So all this stuff is needed to keep our economy running. And people will say some very ignorant things and say, we don't need the world to get. We don't depend on the world to have everything running smoothly in this country. But that's BS. That's false, and people are gonna find that out very quickly if some event happens where a country like China stops importing stuff to the United States. Things here are going to start breaking down really quickly, because first of all, we can't produce a lot of this stuff here, and if you can't produce it, then where are you going to get it? You could have the production shifted to other countries where the labor cost is cheaper, but it takes time to set up manufacturing plants. It could take 6 months to a year or more to get a plant set up where you can start producing stuff. So as it stands, it's not a very good situation. So if you could buy some extra stuff, you should buy some extra stuff. Like, for example, after the toilet paper shortage, I stocked up on toilet paper a little bit, maybe more than what I would normally buy, because I only usually bought like 1 pallet of toilet paper before we had the toilet paper shortage, and thankfully I didn't run out of toilet paper. And I also bought more paper towels and other stuff that I need, like stuff like that, and canned goods, which I always keep a supply of that around, So anyways, thanks for watching by Ace 1000K.